Well, hello, my YouTube friends. So I used up all of the remaining 2230, and that's 11 grains right there. I'm just going to pour that out on the grass. I assembled a total of, this. So, great. Now the dogs are barking with each other. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Okay, let's try this again. So, 355 grain Full Metal Jacket, 102 52 grain Boat Tail Hollow Point, and using the last remaining 2230, I was able to load, 150, 184 40 grain Zombie Max. You'll note these red ones, and those are 40 grain VMAX because the Zombie Max are packaged in individual baggies. And although I didn't actually count this, there was 5 of them in there, so I'm guessing they're 100 each. I didn't want to open another baggie when I already had this box of 40 grain VMAX that's open. So I just took some out of there, right, to use up the last of that. That's 11 grains. Okay, let me show you how I plan. Okay, hold on a second. All right, my friends, you'll have to forgive my disorganization, but this box right here, I found it a few days ago, and that made me very happy because now I can box up this ammo and it'll take up less space. I thought I was about out of cardboard boxes. And so this box right here that originally held 50 68 grain Boat Tail Hollow Points and sold for less than $20 in March of 1995. I don't know what that translates to today as far as the dollar value, but how I make 104 fit in there, I will show you that now. You see these little pieces of chipboard? They're just made from a Hungry Man TV dinner box. And I'm going to layer the ammo in there, and I'll show you how that's done. Because yes, space is at a premium, and I'm in the process of loading up 3,000 rounds, and that does take up space to go on top of my other 30 years worth of inventory. So I'll show you how that's done. Okay, hold on. All right, my friends, so the process now of putting these in boxes, and the actual number of these 40 grainers over the 223 was pretty convenient, right? Because here's 104, and then there's 80 right here. I don't know if any of you guys recognize these boxes. Haven't any idea how old they are? This is the only one with this label on it. South Korean 223 Full Metal Jacket, 20 rounds. Yeah, I don't know. So is this like early PMC rounds? PMC is Korean, isn't it? And there was a time I labeled everything. I don't really do that now, or I didn't do it this time, because I'm the only one shooting these, and when I dig them out and eventually shoot them a few years from now, I will trust my work. So there's 80 of those, or 80 of these. Okay, now this box right here. Let's look down in here. Okay, because I laid down one layer, right? You can see there's 8 of them. All right, now this piece of chipboard, it's wider on one side. It's not square, it's rectangle. Okay, so the wider part in this case is facing this way. So I'm going to drop this down in there. All right, then I'll get my pencil, push it down. And I could trim it a little bit, like on this corner where the overlap is. I could, trim a little bit right there, and or make it like fit better. I don't know if I will, since they're already cut, and I trimmed the corners. You can barely tell. Okay, let me get another layer in there, and when I drop them in there, because my fingers don't reach, right, and I got to drop them in there and then use a pencil and kind of push them around and get them to lay how I want them. All right, hold on. Okay, I took a closer look at these pieces of chipboard, and you can see the top left corner, it is trimmed, right? So it does have a relief for that overlap in that corner. So the first time I did it, I paid attention. Okay, now I put my second layer in there, and I just put the single vertical one to the other side, and I'll keep rotating that one back and forth, side to side. Does it matter? I don't know. Do they stack up a little more even? Maybe. Am I overthinking it? I don't know, maybe. But so I'm going to drop this one in there. Okay, and it's easier if you're using two hands, right? But I'm filming the video. I may have to fish that out. I'm holding the camera with one hand and trying to do this with the other hand. It's a lot easier when you have two hands. And plus, once the stack gets higher, then you can just, use your fingertips to adjust them how you want. Okay, hold on. Let me turn that piece of cardboard over. Okay, so I did get my scissors out. A couple of those pieces need to be trimmed a little bit. I got a few layers in. It has 13 layers, and each layer has 8 rounds. And again, like I stated, if you're using both hands, you can do it pretty quickly. So I just hold it like chopsticks, drop it down in there. Now it's high enough now, I can just use my fingertips and move them around. Okay, so the fact that it holds 8 in this manner is merely a coincidence, all right? Because I didn't decide how big the box should be. And these days, everything costs so much. I'm sure even the bean counters at the box company, they're saying, they're probably saying to themselves or saying to somebody that if they shave a millimeter off here and a millimeter off there, by the time we've made 10,000 boxes, that's 10,000 millimeters and the weight and all, so someone else designed the box. Whatever, if you choose to do this, whatever box you use, it may hold a different number of rounds. And if you think this takes way too long, of course, opinions vary. To me, it doesn't take too long. And the end result, the end goal, I have better storage. I'm just showing you guys what an ordinary reloader does and how he stores quantities of ammunition. So I'm going to close out this video. That's what I do. I just stack that up over and over, This will have 13 layers of 8. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'll end up with an odd number because I have exactly 300 of those. The box that has those moly-coated ones, it'll be short 2 rounds because I only have 102 of those. I might just put 2 of these Full Metal Jackets in there to make it hold 104. So I'm going to finish boxing this up. Then I'll get back to you on the next batch of 500. I'm going to have to switch gunpowders again. And I'll show you that when we get there. All right, my friends, you have a good day.